talk my shit, or I might just throw another fit. You know I can't help but this, cause they know they can never touch this.
Happy birthday to us, 5 years and running here on the OH.Report. Whew, what a journey. Can't believe we've come all this way, and big thanks to you, Joe. So how about the first piece of cake to my favorite Hall of Famer? All right.
Come on, Brian.
What's up?
That small of a piece? I need more cake than that.
Never please him.
Anyways, welcome to an all-new episode of The Joe Show, the final episode of our amazing first season. And it just so happens to come on the 5-year anniversary of the OH.Report. So a big happy birthday shout out to the company for surviving another year, thanks to yours truly carrying the team. I'd make a birthday wish for them to start the show today, but as you can see, I'm already here. So just roll the intro. We showcased a lot of big tournament games last week here on the OH.Report, and you're about to relive the best moments right now with Brian Skoronsky.
Here you go, Joe.
Much better, but I don't have a fork.
Oh. Don't worry, Joe. We'll make sure that you get a fork and you can eat your cake. But for right now, we got to serve up the people at home a nice, big, healthy, juicy serving of some tournament basketball highlights. Because if you're a fan of the OH.Report, you saw that we were pretty much everywhere last week. So we're going to throw it in the spin cycle and get you in the know. Everything that you needed to see from the districts and the sectionals for the boys now moving into their districts. Hit it! Let's start things off with the Division III Worcester District Semi, number 7 Loudonville and the top-seeded Smithville Lady Smithies. Early lead here as Naomi Keeb gets the bucket on the baseline drive. The Redbirds would fight back, though, and take the lead. Corey Vermilia wide open. How can you leave her? 21-16, they're up at the break. Second half in Smithville picking it up defensively. Sophia Spangler, the scoop, and the score is going to be the only field goal of the second half for Loudonville. The Smithies on the other side, though, outscored the Birds 16-3 in the second half, and they would pull away late. 32-24, big victory for them as Loudonville season comes to an end. Crazy finish between league rivals Clear Fork and Ontario would see the number 7 seeded Warriors have to come way back in the second half in this sectional championship game, and pretty much everyone stepped up for the Big O in the final frame as they would erase a 12-point deficit. A personal 5-0 run courtesy of Grayson Purvis would prove to be huge, taking the lead in the closing minutes for good. What a game unless you're a Colts fan, but man, did they empty the tank. Ontario moving on with a 3-point win. Second half of the doubleheader that night at Madison was just as good and very similar, with Gallion getting almost 50 combined points from Elijah Chafin and Cooper Kent. These two dudes were flat out amazing in this game, and they basically led Willard the entire night until this unbelievable stretch by Max Dawson late in the third quarter, where the kid connected on not one, not even two, but you're going to see 3 consecutive trifectas hit would close down the deficit. Max finished the night with 34 points. I think he's got to be a first-team All-Ohioan when it's all said and done. He would get some help down the stretch, too, from the Robinsons, and then Strayer there, crashing the glass. He would have the stick back. Flash is moving on to the sectional final. Basically, everyone's coming back for Gallion next year, too, so the future very bright. Defending district champion Shelby looking to knock off number 1 Norwalk, and how about the shooter's touch there for Demi Hip? It would be your last career game, though, because District 6 Player of the Year Brooklyn Davis was a flat-out savage. Need I show you more than the 6-0 run to close the third quarter and take the lead, headed into money time, where she had 2 straight steals and layups? Shelby was in it to the final horn, though. Audie Albert puts it in, and one opportunity late in the fourth, but mama, there goes that savage again. Davis had a 24-point double-double to give Norwalk a program record 21 wins and counting, as you'll see coming up later in the highlights. Clear Fork versus Upper Sandusky, and it was a great start for the Lady Rams' Cadence Isles, who's going to score and give them a 12-5 start right there. Lady Colts come storming back. Liv Davis gonna hit the 3. The game is all tied up, 23 each at the break. Second half, and Upper taking a page out of the Smithville book as Leah Kinley finishes a 12-3 third quarter run. Then in the fourth, Lady Rams finishing things off. Addie Newman with the hoop plus the harm. Upper Sandusky advances to its second consecutive district final with a big-time victory over Clear Fork. Winford looking to keep the Cinderella run going against top seed Margaretta. Meredith Engler with a great cut there. It's 6-5 Lady Royals after 1. Second quarter now, and the Lady Bears start to create some distance. Lily Edwards for the 3. Then on the very next possession, it's Edwards again canning the triple. It was 23-8, a big lead for Margaretta at the half. Late third, and Reagan Heck with a beautiful dish to Jennifer Patrick. Margaretta once again heading back to the district final to take on Upper Sandusky. We'll show you those highlights in just a bit. The 10 seed was sticking with the top seed early. Cedric Cook hitting one of St. Mary CC's 3 trifectas in the opening quarter, made it 15-14 Panthers, leading Colonel Crawford after 1, but the Eagles would get it going offensively. That's Jacob Matty, smooth put back there. Third quarter action now, Braxton Baker gonna take it to the cup, takes the bump plus the bucket. And then Baker once again, this time the stop and pop. He drops it home and scored a game-high 28 as Crawford moving back on into the districts for an amazing 12th consecutive season. The number 3 Golden Knights played some inspired basketball against 12-seeded Bern Union. Right off the tip, Drew Hammond hits the triple, and it would only get better from there. Northmore in transition now and finds its way to an open Caleb Chenier, who plays a ring around the rim with that triple. 36-15, they're on top at the break. Third quarter, and Maxton Lauer threads the needle inside to Grant Bentley as 10 Golden Knights would get into the scoring column in this game. They were led by Jax Winger's game-high 18 points as Northmore wins its 7th sectional title, running away 64-29 with the victory on their home surface. Crestview looking to improve on a program best 20 wins, but number 4 Genoa came out blazing hot from the field, burying the Cougars in a 12-0 hole to start the game as they scored on their first 4 possessions, all triples, including that one right there. We're going to take you to the closing seconds of the second now, where you'll see Owen Barker crashing the offensive glass. He's going to trim down the margin to just 5 at the break. The senior was huge in this game. Start of the fourth now, Tyson Ringler gives Crestview their first lead of the night. Hoop plus the harm, and the Cougars would never give back the lead either. Justice Thompson here with a key bucket down the stretch, and Crestview would go on to cut down the nets as sectional champions. They're going to play Huron tonight in the round of districts with the 58-53 win. Third matchup of the season now between SBC Lake Division rivals Norwalk and Perkins for a spot in the D2 Regionals. Kenzie Smith had it going on early. Late first quarter now, Cam Kaufman pushing the break, finds Cameron Van Vlera for the fast break bucket. Lady Truckers shot it so well though from three. Here's Kylie Moser liking the downtown view. Double-digit cushion for them. Van Vlera returning the favor though midway through the fourth. Cuts down the deficit to just a 6-point game, but the sophomore Smith, she was special in this one. Clean pull-up jumper, basically icing the W here as the Lady Truckies, they win the district for just the second time in program history, and they actually won last night too. They are moving on to the regional championship. D2 sectional final at Madison would see Max Dawson, surprise, surprise, doing big things as Willard went toe-to-toe with third-seeded Lexington. Dawson had 28 to help carry the scoring load, but the Minutemen, they got some great size and length. This is 6'7" Elijah Hudson with the J. Hudson gonna get the bunny this time. 6 set up by Bragan Fogel to make it happen. Flashes actually had the lead though late in this one, looking for the upset, but Fogel gonna make the play of the night. Final seconds here, he would steal a Flashes inbound and cruise in for the two-handed slam. The freshman, an amazing first playoff game to help the purple and gold claim the sectional crown. They will get number 2 Shelby next. Mount Gilead looking for their first ever district title win against Fisher Catholic at Ohio Dominican University. Aubrey Thomas inside out play here. Gonna find Lydia Stallnaker to knock down a big three, cut the deficit down to just a 4-point game. Later on, Grace Shipman with a shot. She's gonna miss, but fights for the rebound, recovers it, and passes out to Madeline Elson for the 2. End the lead midway through the second. We fast forward now to the third, where it's Jada Dixon passing it inside to Ellie Bruce, who knocks down the hook shot over her left shoulder. They would continue to feed the skilled big in the paint. Bruce with the bucket again down inside over the double team. Fisher Catholic would go on to defeat Mount Gilead 51-42. They claim the Division IV district title as Mount Gilead wraps up their best ever season in program history. So we take off our hats to the Lady Indians. 19 wins, getting as far as they have ever been in tournament play this year. Buckeye Central versus Danbury, and Kate Cecil picking up right where she left off in the district semi as Buckeye Central coming out and taking a commanding lead early, but Danbury's Camille Stevens right back and responding with a 3 of her own to keep things close eventually. Paige Colleen finishing a smooth take off the pick and roll courtesy of a Cecil setup, and the Buckettes, they begin to pull away just a bit. However, this bucket from Danbury's Kelly Ewing cut the deficit to just 7 points, plenty of time remaining, but in the end, experience matters, and Buckeye Central pulls away 39-21, securing their 7th straight district championship as they are moving on to Thursday's regional. To last night's boys district semis at Willard we go, where an upset was brewing early on. 7-seeded Norwalk St. Paul, already with a couple tourney upsets under their belt, would knock down some big shots in the opening frame, and they had the lead. But Crawford's Braxton Baker would start to take over in the second. He had a great position down on the block all night, and we know he can do this. Catch and shoot. 28 points for this kid on this night, and his senior running mate Jacob Maddie, big two-handed throwdown. He was equally as good, especially in the second half, finishing his night with 26 points of his own. Colonel Crawford would go on to crash the Flyers 64-51, but who will they face on Friday night for the district championship? Well, one thing's for sure. Lucas Jr. guard Logan Toms was definitely not interested in letting Monroeville get by them in the semifinals, where the Cubs got beat a season ago. He was huge early on in this game. The Eagles, they've got some supreme shot makers on their end though. 1,000-point scorer Jimmy Klingman nails the fall-away J there. Fourth quarter now, Monroeville trying to close the gap with Aiden Goodwin from downtown right in front of his bench. But Toms, he was special on this night, actually outscoring the Eagles through 3, and he ended the day with 28 to set up a rematch versus Colonel Crawford in the district title game on Friday, a showdown we've all been waiting for. Northmore trying to get to their first ever district final appearance, and they would start strong against Delaware Christian. Grant Bentley hits the 3, They put up 25 in the first period, but the Eagles wouldn't back down. Gabe Shear cuts the deficit down to 12 at the half. The lead would go down to the single digits before Jax Wenger would kill any Eagle momentum, going coast to coast for the and one. He finished the night with 22 points. Later on, it's Bentley with the dagger from the corner. He had a game-high 26 as Northmore will indeed play for its first district championship on Friday night against number 2 Patriot Prep down in Columbus. So obviously a ton of highlights, and we've got way more action coming up this week live and free on the OH.Report, including some more live and free action right here on the Joe Show. So check back with us. Travis is going to join the set, probably stuff his face with some cake, and then also we'll give you his top 10 best teams on the Country Roads rankings for the boys and the girls. That is coming up right after this.
Welcome back to the Joe Show, where we're always a champion for the small schools in our area. And our own Travis Berardi is here to debate who the best of the best were this season with his final Country Roads rankings.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm just enjoying this cake. It's amazing right now. You know. Anyway, welcome back to the Country Roads rankings. I'm a mess right now with this cake, but we're just going to roll with it because it's our birthday, right? It's our birthday.
Nice blue lips.
Anyway, let's start with the girls. These are rankings that I did release last week, but I want to get your take in it, Joe, as we pull up my top 10 here. But number 1, our champion for the second consecutive year, Joe, the Buckeye Central Buckettes. They finished 19-3 in the regular season. We know they are regular season as well as district champions. They're going to be playing, tomorrow night live and free. But just what another season the Buckeye Central
I don't think
team.
You can argue about that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the thing that until you really kind of watch them, you don't understand. They've been through some adversity here, especially late in the season. I mean, one of their best players, Sydney Worm, has been out, and kind of keeping our fingers crossed that she gets a chance here maybe to play in the regionals. But they fought through and just have a really solid group of 5 seniors that not only are good players but really neat young ladies to talk to and be around.
Yeah, and my runner-up is the Pleasant Lady Spartans. They had a great year as well in the MOAC, co-champions, and they're in a tough district, in a central district. They lost to Fairbanks in a district semifinal, but you have to give them love for what they did. They beat Shelby once, they beat Clear Fork once. They pretty much split with everybody, so that's why I have them as my number 2 team.
And they're the smallest school in the MOAC, so that MOAC girls is especially with Shelby, River Valley, Clear Fork. That's a really tough league to play in, and kudos to the Pleasant Lady Spartans for the season that they've had.
And then number 3, an amazing season for the Mount Gilead Lady Indians. They finished 17-5 in the regular season. They were KMAC champions. They upset the number 3 team in the state to get to their first ever district championship game. But in the regular season, they finished as my number 3 team, a well-deserved finish for them. They weren't even in my top 10 to start, and it's one of those teams that just came out of nowhere and finished in my 3rd place.
I mean, the thing with that is, the first time you're able to do something special like that, to beat a team that's 25-0, ranked number 3 in the state, and advance to the district semifinals, those are memories that not only those girls will take with them, but many times the community, they're going to remember 10, 15, 20 years down the road.
4th and 5th, actually, I had them both tied for 4th, but the district semifinal was going to determine who was my 4 and 5 spot. Upper Sandusky, they knocked off Clear Fork, so they're my number 4. Clear Fork's my number 5. Clear Fork had more losses than pretty much anybody else in the top 5, but it was those losses of Division II teams. They finished 5th. Upper Sandusky, another one of those teams in the Northern 10, they finished as Northern 10 runners-up, and they finished in my 4 spot.
Yeah, I mean, can't really disagree. You could flip-flop either one of those, but Upper Sandusky, as we've mentioned several times, playing in the Northern 10, extremely difficult. And then plus every year you got to play against Buckeye Central, which is not fun.
And they played them, close. You and I saw the first game, and then the second game they played them close as well. And then just rounding out my top 10, you have 4 Northern 10 squads. That's how good that conference was, as well as Loudonville, who had a good year. They had, an early injury to Corey Vermilia and company, but they fought back. They made it to a district semifinal, so they finished 7th. But then just the Northern 10 overall, boys and girls, coach, what a year for that conference.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I know you love West Virginia and the conference.
It's on the shirt, yeah.
The conference that they're in. That's, and you could almost make a little bit of comparison that the Northern 10 was kind of like that, especially in girls and even a little bit in boys. So, for me, the neat thing was getting a chance to see those girls play and understand from a coaching standpoint how difficult that is to prepare every night.
So yeah, there's my top 10. Buckeye Central, Pleasant, Mount Gilead, Upper Sandusky, Clear Fork, and then Cary, Loudonville, Crawford, Mohawk, Winford. Those are my top 10. Congratulations to everybody for making it. And once again, Buckeye Central, who in the last 2 years, only 1 week, they were not in the top spot. Pleasant was in the top spot. So Buckeye Central just running among the tops of those teams in D3 and 4. Now to the official unveiling of my top 10 boys teams. This is the final rankings for the season, so let's get right into it, Coach. And at number 10, the Northmore Golden Knights. Welcome back to the top 10. They finished strong, going 2-0 with a win over Mansfield Christian, who was in my top 10 before they dropped out. The Golden Knights, they're going to be playing for their first district championship on Friday night. They're pumped down in North Bloomfield Township. And
I saw the post game in a locker room with Coach Tackett talking about the experience he had playing for Colonel Crawford and the idea that he was on the first team in Crawford history that got to the regional, and that's what he was emphasizing to his team is they've got a chance to be the first team in Northmore basketball history to get to a regional. And again, being able to accomplish something like that, not only as a player you remember it, but you're going to have people in the community remember it forever.
Yeah, yet another K-Mac squad that's making history this year, along with the Mount Gilead girls, the Northmore boys, and we'll have that game live and free for you on Friday night. Now to my number 9 team, and here we come once again with the Northern 10 squads. Winford finished at 13-9. They finished out 2-2, so they dropped down in my rankings, but still they finished in the top 10. Yep,
and they've, as we've mentioned, that league's, the Northern 10's been extremely difficult. Winford kind of had a roller coaster season. They played really well for a while, and then at the end of the year struggled a little bit. But we're bouncing back, in their last couple games. But give the Royals credit. Have some young players. I think they have everybody coming back, so they could be a real threat in the Northern 10 next year.
My number 8 squad is the Centerburg Trojans. They finished strong in the season, lost to Fredericktown in the Freddyburg game, and then lost in the sectional final in a tough Division III Central District. That's a meat grinder as well. Them and Fredericktown finished 8-7. Fredericktown's just ahead of them. Their lone win since the last update was Centerburg. They won their sectional final against North Union, a great win for them, but then fell to Afrocentric, the top team, one of those perennial private schools in Division III.
That's what you typically run into there in Columbus. You're going to run into one of those schools that just a little bit more athletic than you are and tough to advance. But I believe the Freddies were the K-Mac champs.
Yes, they were.
Yep. So good season. Anytime you can win a league championship, win a sectional championship, get to the district, that's a good season.
To my number 6 team now, and it is the Seneca East Tigers. They finished 15-7. They finished strong to end the regular season as well, 3-0. So they jumped up a little bit with some losses. Centerburg a couple losses, Winford a couple losses. So they move up to my number 6 spot, and number 5 as well. David Sheldon's Colonel Crawford Eagles. They finished the regular season 1-2, but those are some tough losses that they played. They played some really good teams. However, they recovered. They're playing for another district championship on Friday.
They understand, and I think I mentioned earlier too, they had 7 losses, and 5 of those losses if you added up the total margin that they lost by was 11 points. So, Crawford could easily have won 3 or 4 more basketball games, but just, weren't able to get shots to fall at that time. But again, back in the district finals, kind of following that Buckeye Central girls tradition.
And they're going to be taking on my number 4 squad, the Lucas Cubs. They finished the regular season 3-0. They're playing for a district championship as well. They finished 18-4 in the regular season, but a couple of those losses, one of them was to Colonel Crawford at home by 2. A couple other losses to some really good teams, but 5-4, pretty much playing for the number 4 spot, if you could say, in that district championship. That's going to be a good one on Friday night.
Yeah, and the Cubs are chomping at the bit. I think they, with that loss at home to Crawford, I think they probably circled Friday night's date that we're going to get there. Let's see if Crawford gets there. They're both there. It's going to be an outstanding atmosphere. And I would think a very physical basketball game on Friday night.
Yeah, if you want to be there for the game, you might want to get there pretty darn early, because that Willard, that's a great venue for basketball altogether, but for tournament basketball as well. One of Joe's best tournament moments also happened there when they knocked off, the Tears of Cade Stover and everything.
I think Brian and I talked about this last night. Not only is it a great facility, but Willard does such a great job of hosting it, and it's just a great, great atmosphere. The national anthem at the beginning that is tremendous. So it's going to be a special night, Friday night at Willard.
All right, now to my top 3 teams, and 2 of them are still alive in the tournament. My number 3 team, the Mohawk Warriors, and I'll explain why they're my number 3 team in a moment. But right now, finished 19-3, 1-1, and they're playing for a district championship. A big win in their semifinal by 40 points, a school record 17 threes, and AJ Hess, the district player of the year, put up 35.
Yeah, it sounds like they're playing their best basketball, which is what you want to do right now. So. Again, they're in a district final game with the chance. Right now you're one of 32 teams in the state, and you got a chance to be one of 16. After that district final game.
To my number 2 team, it is the Northern 10 champion, Cary Blue Devils. They knocked off Mohawk last regular season game. That's why I gave them my number 2 spot to finish out the regular season. 19-3, lost by 1 point to Hopewell Loudon in a very I
think it was Liberty Benton.
One of the 2 hyphenated squads, I guess. Yeah, Hopewell Loudon, I think they're playing Mohawk. I think that's who it is for a district championship. So the other one, but Liberty Benton, they lost by 1 in a district semifinal.
And Liberty Benton was outstanding this season.
Yes.
Outstanding. And that, we talk about the Division II district at Ashland being a meat grinder. Just to get to the district where Cary's at, you're talking like Liberty Benton, OG. That's a meat grinder.
And then my top squad, the Crestview Cougars, well-deserved from them. Only 2 losses. One of them was, I don't know if you would say it was a fluke loss, but they lost bad to Lucas at Lucas. It was just, something where everything went right for Lucas, everything went wrong for Crestview, and then an overtime game to Division II Ontario. But they finished the regular season 3-0, conference champions history, and with a win over Huron, they could be the first team since the mid-1960s to play for a district championship.
You're really happy for John Kurtz, happy for the Cougars. As I said, when you're a coach at a school and you're making that first kind of tournament run, the excitement created in the school building, in the community, you can't compare it to anything. So Crestview, outstanding season, and a chance to continue it, if they win a district title.
All right, so there is my final top 10, boys. Anything you want to look at, or
no? I'm not.
It's right?
I think you're pretty close, Travis. I'm not gonna debate you here. So good job, and I'm sure that these schools appreciate all the coverage that you've given them throughout the years. So congrats.
Well, we appreciate you. Putting the OH Report on your back here and keeping us alive as we hit year number 5.
I don't know if I put you on my back. I said you guys have taught me a lot. So
we've appreciated you having it, and I look forward to next season when we do this again. How about that, Coach?
Hopefully we do.
All right. That'll do it for the final Country Roads rankings of the season here on the final episode of the Joe Show. But we'll take a break and be back with more Joe Show right after this on the OH Report.
For the 7th consecutive season, Buckeye Central will compete in the regional tournament tomorrow when they take on Western Reserve in the semifinals. So I took a trip over to Titletown to see what makes N10 Player of the Year Riley Concert a force to be reckoned with on the hardwood. We're here with Riley Concert of the Buckeye Central Buckettes, and we're going to take a walk around the arena. So, Riley, you've grown up in New Washington, you've gone to Buckeye Central School your whole career. What's this all kind of meant to you?
You know, growing up in a community that's so supportive like ours is, I think the most influence comes from that district final game when you look up in the crowds and there's just a sea of red and the whole building is filled, and that's just awesome having that support from our community.
I mean, being a basketball coach and coaching a lot of different players, I know that over the years, players usually have somebody that's really influenced them. Who would be that person that's kind of been the biggest influences on your basketball career?
I would say my teammate Taylor Ratliff. My freshman year, she kind of took me under her wing and got me to her house, and we would shoot every single morning, 7 a.m. She called me, wake me up, said, "Come on, we're shooting," and that's where really my love for basketball really grew from that.
She's got a pretty nice place to shoot out there.
Yeah, she does.
What do you enjoy most about playing basketball?
I think the competition. I'm a very competitive person, so winning games and being a part of 20-plus wins every season is a great thing for me.
When you're not playing basketball, what's a favorite thing you like to do?
Well, my whole life has been basketball the last 4 years, even watching film during school. So if I'm not playing basketball, I'm probably sleeping because I'm tired.
So you have a great group of senior teammates. If you're having a bad day, who's that senior teammate that can make you laugh?
I'd probably say Kennedy, because we joke a lot of stuff that Coach Capel says to her, stuff that Coach Capel says to me. Some of the funny things, his comments in practice, we just get a crack out of it.
So you mentioned you've been part of a lot of winning teams, but what's made this team special this year?
I think losing Emily and Claudia, that really made this team special, winning all the things we have won because nobody thought we would or we could. But having 5 seniors is really fun too because we all have played together for a really long time.
Favorite pregame meal?
Definitely not Subway. Anything but Subway. That's all I gotta say.
So you had a bad experience with Subway?
Oh, very bad experience before a game. Yep.
Favorite professional or college athlete that maybe you kind of model yourself after?
I really don't watch college or professional basketball, but I'd say Michael Jordan. I love his shoes.
Best memory so far in your high school basketball career?
Either going to state last year or winning all 4 district championships. That doesn't come around that often.
So if I went to Coach Capel and was talking to Coach Capel and I would say, Coach Capel, give me one word that describes Riley, what would that word be?
Well, we asked him before, he said soft, but I wouldn't say that's very true. I'd say a leader. I would go with the leadership.
And I guess my last question is, as you mentioned, you've had a great career, been around with some great teammates. When this season finally ends, what's the best memory that you're going to take away?
I think I'll just miss playing with my team and coming to practice every day and being around my coaches and my team. Not necessarily playing the sport of basketball, but it's really special what we have here at Buckeye.
Well, on behalf of the OH.Report, we wish you guys the best of luck this week.
Thank you.
Around the arena with Riley. Riley has been outstanding this season in multiple facets of the game, leading the Lady Buckettes to another outright N10 title, their 3rd straight. The man at the helm throughout the program's impressive run is head coach Abram Capel, who sat down with me this week at practice to talk about building a local dynasty. So we're here with Coach Abram Capel of the Buckeye Central Buckettes, and Coach, you grew up in New Washington, you played here. So maybe give our viewers a little bit of background about how'd you get this job?
I got this job right now 5 years ago, well, almost 6 years ago. Actually, the boys' job was open when Coach Lloyd or Phil stepped down, and it was a position that I had applied for. And unfortunately, with not a lot of experience, I kind of went a different direction. And they called me back a couple days later and like, hey, do you have any interest in taking the girls? At the same time, Greg Moore had just stepped down, and at the time I was just coaching AAU with John Cahill was somebody I looked up to and was helping coach. And I called him and I said, hey, I've never coached girls. Here's the opportunity I'm being presented with. He goes, what's your thoughts? He goes, yeah, absolutely, do it. He's like, if this is something you want to do long term, you got to get your foot in the door. And 5 years later, it's been the biggest blessing, I guess, in my early coaching career. And I couldn't be more thankful for the opportunity given both by the school district and the community to accept me and allow me to to work with our kids and have this opportunity.
I've coached for a long time, and as a young coach, you had people that kind of influenced your coaches you'd like to be around. I mean, in my day, Bob Knight was kind of the guy, and then as I got my head coaching job, there was a guy named Don Meyer that was at a small college, I think in Tennessee, that had about 30 videotapes at that time that I bought them all and watched them. So in your coaching career, kind of who or what's kind of been the influence on your coaching philosophy or how you coach?
I feel like being 31 and just 5 years in, I feel like it's ever changing. I grew up in North Carolina, Tar Heel basketball fan, and more Roy Williams as opposed to Dean Smith. And Roy Williams always wanted to get up and down and score a lot of points. So I like him a lot. Not that I know him personally. I like what Jay Wright did at Villanova. We were kind of just talking about. Coach Lloyd played a huge role in that, and Olin Dials was my varsity assistant, who he was at our games last week, and somebody I talked to on a regular basis. So the combination of both people I know from a personal level, and then obviously people that I've kind of idolized watching on TV is kind of where I'm here. But like I said, it's always changing, right, based on who's good and who's not, and you just try to learn and educate yourself the best you can.
That's one of the things I've always. I mean, somebody told me. And I think my assistants reminded me, I always told them this, I said, we'd go to a clinic or something, they said, if we can take one thing away from this. And another thing I always heard was that, U.B. Brown made a comment once, he said, as a coach, always try to bring back one new drill so that your players know that you're working at it at the game every time. And I've always tried to apply that. So you guys have had another outstanding season, won the Northern 10, the 7th district title, your 5th in a row. But what have you really liked the most about this team this season?
I guess the thing I like the most about this team in particular is the fact of the last couple of years, it was like we were expected to win, right? With Claude and Em and Taylor and Courtney, you're multiple All-Ohio kids, and then you graduate them, and you're left with basically 5 role players, quote, from last year's team. So for these guys to be like, now it's our turn, to write our chapter, right, in the book of Buckeye Central girls basketball has been really cool. Without that, that 1,000-point score, that 20 points per game night, we have multiple kids that can do that. But to see the culmination of, being able to utilize our depth, maneuver through injuries and foul trouble, I think it's been really cool because each of those kids have had their game, which has resulted in as to where we are today. So I think that's definitely unique, and for the first time that I've had that without relying on one particular player night in and night out.
Doing this year, I've got an opportunity to talk to the Toms brothers at Lucas and about how special Lucas is. You grew up here, got to coach here. What makes New Washington and Buckeye Central a special place?
There's a lot of things, right? 4 last names pretty much run the town, and that's the cool thing, like you just kind of said with Lucas. But everybody kind of knows everybody, and it's funny because back in high school, I was a lifeguard. That was my first job, and half these kids I taught swimming lessons, right? And there was no correlation there, but other than hey, I needed a job, I got paid $5 an hour, and then I had both the evacs, and then now all of a sudden these are the same kids, and now you're coaching them. and I guess you coached them how to swim per se, but now it's in this aspect. So that's really cool. And then, to kind of be able to see them grow up, and obviously you've had that experience. I guess you see kids grow all through 4 years. And so yeah, I mean, obviously, there's not many towns that after you win a district title, the bus drops you off at the local bar to kind of celebrate, and there's nothing like that. But we go to Pete's, and
that is a neat thing that
the
kids
and
don't realize.
No, we go up there, and Ryan Concert, Riley's mom and dad own it, and they have pizza for us, and that's like one of our traditions is to go up there and celebrate. So I know Saturday night was definitely something that they look forward to, and coming back, and we take a couple laps around town with the police escort, and you probably don't get that feel at bigger schools where you get that community and people are outside waiting for you on their porch. It's very surreal. It's very cool, and it's cool for me as a coach, and then obviously I think it's cool for these guys as kids as well.
Well, on behalf of the OH.Report, congrats on a great year, and we wish you guys the best of luck as hopefully if you're one of the 16 teams now, we hope that by this time next week you're one of the 4 teams. So best of luck.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
While Capel and the Buckettes are seeking a return trip to the state Final Four this season, on the boys' side of things, Mansfield Senior is on the hunt for the program's first district title since 2013. I caught up with Tigers head coach Marquise Sykes ahead of their tournament preparation for a conversation about life and basketball. We're here with Marquise Sykes, former player here at Mansfield Senior and the boys basketball coach of the Tigers. You graduated from senior high in 1999. I did a little bit of research today on you. I know that you played for Coach Collins for 3 seasons. You were their team's leading scorer as a junior and a senior. During your senior year, I think you guys went 22-4, got to the state Final Four. Got beat by a really good Cincinnati Moeller team, I believe, but also I think in the regional finals you beat St. Ignatius, which is outstanding. So you made that run to the Final Four. Coach Collins, I got a lot of respect for him. How did he influence you as far as coaching as playing for him?
Oh, a lot, because I actually had the opportunity to coach under him as well. I was his JV coach for a couple of years before he retired, and was an assistant coach with him, so a huge influence on just how I coach, and certainly huge influence on me as far as how I played the game, and moving on to college, even the stuff that he taught was things that we used in my college days, so huge influence as a player and as a coach.
So you played at Moorhead State, had a really good career there. What influences did you take from that experience of playing at Division I Moorhead State as far as getting into coaching and kind of what you do now?
A lot. I had the opportunity to play for Kyle Macy. He won a national championship at the University of Kentucky. He played, I want to say, 7 or 8 years in the NBA, and then had a long career over in Italy. So he was very knowledgeable about the game, and certainly taught me a lot. But his coaching style was, he kind of leaned on me a lot. As far as me as being the point guard, he would talk to me, tell me what he wanted to see happen, and he would ask me to go out on the floor and relay that to all of my players that were out there on the floor with me. So I take some of that approach with my coaching style, and so I learned a lot at Moorhead State. I was able to be on that coaching staff as well for a couple of years down there, and was able to learn a lot of different drills and skill work and different philosophies from wise guys that just know a whole lot about the game. So I'm certainly grateful for my time at Moorhead State, and it was a huge part of who I am as a person, as a player, and as a coach.
So you were a really good high school player, had a successful career in Division I. You've been in coaching for a while now. What's changed about the game that maybe is different when you played in high school and in college?
I think the game is the game. The game hasn't changed a whole lot. The differences, I would say, are there's a lot of difference as far as summer basketball and travel ball, and back when I played, we played a lot more pickup than what these guys play nowadays. Nowadays, it's a lot more skill work and individual instruction, individual workouts in the gyms. We played a lot more pickup outside, and those kinds of things. So that's the difference now.
Do you think that like you talked about the AAU, the club, and the other part you mentioned about like going to the park and playing. Do you think that club stuff has helped the game, or has it? Do you feel like, hey, getting guys and going to the park playing was maybe better off?
I think they both have pros and cons. I don't want to say that the way the travel ball is set up now, I don't want to say it hurts the game, because it certainly had a huge impact for a lot of kids.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then I think for some, in some situations, it could be a waste of time for some. But that's neither here nor there. I think it has its pros and cons with anything. Just like back when we were going to the parks, that had some pros and cons. I certainly feel the cons in my knees every day when I get out of the bed. So I think all of it has its pros and cons, and I think us as coaches, we have to learn to adapt and move on and figure out what the newer generations are doing and try to enhance these newer generations and move forward. One
of the things as far as with coaching, you talk about coaching philosophy, and I guess the word now is culture. I come here to watch practice, and it reminds me of a lot of days when you played, as far as what you're emphasizing. So if somebody would come comes to watch senior high, what's that thing, the one or two things that you really want your kids to kind of portray as being senior high basketball?
Tiger bass, it's a lot of things, but to keep it short and simple, we want our guys to play hard, we want them to play smart, and play together. Now, does that happen every night? No, it doesn't. But at the end of the day, that's what we're pushing for, that's what we're thriving for, that's what we're shooting for every day in here at practice, whether it be a summer workout in the weight room, whether it be morning shooting here in the gym. We're looking to do it hard, we're looking to be smart, and we're looking to do it all together. So.
You mentioned Greg Collins being an influence, Kyle Macy being an influence. Anybody else that's been a big influence in your coaching career?
All of my coaches that I coached with before me, Effie James, JT Reese, those are guys that held the position before I stepped in. Coach Kratz is another who's been really helpful to me throughout my coaching career. Those guys have always been an ear for me if needed, and any time I needed them to come into practice to be a different voice or a wiser voice, they would do it. So certainly those guys have been helpful. Coach Collins has been a guy who would come in and watch some practices and talk to us after games and all of that good stuff. So a lot of people, a lot of guys that have been influential to myself, and as a coach, we try to pick little things from all the coaches that we work with or go against. I've watched film of your teams and picked up some things from you guys.
Same thing for me here, playing in the summer.
That's how it works. So.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing to as I've gotten out of coaching and emphasize young guys, you can't be afraid to go to somebody and ask, or have somebody come into your gym and just give you an honest evaluation of your kids, because sometimes it's maybe not what you want to hear, but it's what you need to hear. And we really appreciate you giving us the opportunity to come out to practice. And I wish you the best of luck as you make the run here at the end of the year.
I appreciate it, Coach. Anytime. You guys are more than welcome to come in.
All right. Thanks, Marquise.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Sure, you football fans have all heard of the All-Madden team for the best players in the NFL. I've got something similar for you on this week's edition of Coach B's Ballers, naming the top 7 boys and girls players in the area on my All-Balogh squads. Boom! On the girls' side, we have Corey Vermilia of the Loudonville Lady Redbirds. Corey is only a junior, but she's one of the premier players in the area and in the state. She averages 29 points per game, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals. She is the career league scoring leader at Loudonville and had a season-high 59 points versus Mansfield Senior this season. Corey will definitely be an All-Ohio Division III selection this season. Riley Concert of the Buckeye Central Buckettes. Riley's one of the best point guards in the area. She averages 9 points a game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1 steal. She was named the Northern 10 Player of the Year and is also a first-team District 6 selection. She has led the Buckeye Central Buckettes to a record of 22-3, a Northern 10 Conference Championship, and a 7th straight Division 4 district title. The Buckettes will enter the Sweet 16 at Massillon Perry on Thursday night as they take on Berlin Center Western Reserve. Candace Isles of the Upper Sandusky Rams. Candace is a versatile player as she plays both on the perimeter and inside for the 18-7 Lady Rams. She averaged 11 points a game, grabbed 7 rebounds, along with dishing out 3 assists and taking 3 steals per game. This helped her earn a first-team selection in the Northern 10 Conference as well as in District 6. She helped her team to the Division III district title game where they lost to Margaretta. Kirsten Bradley of the Mansfield Senior Tigers. This junior guard was a key to the Tigers winning their first Ohio Cardinal Conference championship in school history. She averaged 12 points a game, grabbed 7 rebounds, dished out 3 assists, and swiped 3 steals. The Tigers won a sectional title and then were defeated in the district semifinal by the Norwalk Truckers, who are advancing to the Division II regionals. Madeline Elson of the Mount Gilead Indians. Madeline led the Purple and White to a season-ending record of 18-7 and a KMAC championship. She averaged 13 points a game while dishing out 2 assists and snatching 3 steals per game. She is the season's KMAC Player of the Year. Her team upset 25-0 Bern Union, who was ranked 3rd at the time in the Division II district semifinal. Those are 5 starters. However, you always also need some players coming off the bench. So coming off the bench on this team would be Kate Cecil of the Buckeye Central Buckettes. This sharpshooting guard has over 75 made threes so far this season. She has led her team to the Sweet 16 as she scored 15 points in the district final game versus South Central following a 26-point performance in the district semifinal that included 8 threes. Kate is also a number 1 team selection in the Northern 10 Conference as well as District 6. Also coming off the bench, Eve Swemley of the Shelby Whippets. This sophomore improved every game this season and helped the Whippets to another Mid-Ohio Athletic Conference title and an appearance in the Division II district where they lost to Norwalk, the eventual district champion. Eve will return next year after averaging 12 points a game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. She was a first-team selection in the MOAC and in District 6. On the boys' side, we have Max Dawson of the Willard Crimson Flashes. Max, only a junior, had an outstanding season, leading the Flashes to an SBC Bay Division championship with a 9-1 conference record and an overall record of 15-9. The Flashes played one of the most challenging schedules in the area, winning 10 of their last 13 games, finishing their season with a 56-54 loss to Lexington in the sectional finals. Max averaged 24 points per game with 3 rebounds and 2 assists. Alex Brushgotter of the Shelby Whippets. Alex is also only a junior, and he has led the 19-3 Whippets to an appearance in the brutal Division II district at Ashland as they take on the Lexington Minutemen. He eclipsed the 1,000-point mark in their sectional final while averaging 22 points a game, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists. He was also selected as the Player of the Year in District 6. Jaden Jeffries of the Madison Rams. This versatile 6'5 senior led the Rams to an 11-12 record this season. However, this is somewhat deceiving as the Rams lost 4 games in overtime and had another game that they lost on a shot at the buzzer. Jaden averaged 23 points a game, along with 8 rebounds and 2 assists. He was selected to the District 6 first team. His versatility was a matchup nightmare for Madison's opponents. Baden Forop of the Lexington Minutemen. Baden's presence in the post area is a difficult matchup for any opponent on Lex's schedule. He helped the Minutemen to a record of 19-4, a share of the Ohio Cardinal Conference, and an appearance in tomorrow night's Division II District Semifinal versus Shelby. Baden averages almost a double-double each night as he scores 15 points a game and grabs just over 9 rebounds per game. Braxton Baker of the Colonel Crawford Eagles. After being a key part of last year's team that went 26-1 with a loss to OG in the regional finals, Braxton found himself to be the key focus of Eagles opponents this season. However, he still averaged 20 points a game along with 6 rebounds and 2 assists. The Eagles are currently 17-7, with 5 of those losses coming by a combined 11 points. The Eagles will play for a district championship this Friday versus Lucas at Willard. Coming off the bench on the boys' side, Grayson Sturry of the Ashland Arrows. This senior has been a starter for the Arrows since his freshman year, and he has followed in the footsteps of several outstanding guards at Ashland. Grayson averaged 22 points a game this season, and he's one of the most dangerous three-point shooting threats in the area. He was also a first-team District 6 selection. And also coming off the bench is Justice Thompson of the Crestview Cougars. This sophomore exploded this season, helping the Cougars to a record of 21-2 and an appearance in the district semifinals tonight versus Huron. Justice averages 16 points per game, along with 4 rebounds and 2 assists. His coach, John Kurtz, says he's one of the hardest working players he's ever coached. Justice was a first-team District 6 selection. There's Coach B's All-Balogh squads.